think malware is a huge threat. Uh, and I would say the biggest thing about malware that it makes me not say worried, but why it's so big is just because it's automated. I think you've seen people manually getting in, hands on keyboard, getting through things. That might be more targeted, but just in IT work in general, hands on keyboard stuff is kind of going away a little bit. Infrastructure as code, different things as code, automation, scripting. A lot of that is taken over a lot of manual duties, and so malware and malware writers. I mean, it's just the same thing. The way I see it is, malware is just automation for attackers, and it's I think it's a huge concern. I think many organizations, the organization I'm at, we're very concerned with malware. We run a lot of tools, focusing on malware, focusing on malicious software, malicious automation from attackers. Yeah, I do. I think automation definitely helps. I think probably the most important things, is not only just automation, but defense in depth and automation. And obviously, automation is going to be better than what a human can do, just because most of the time automation doesn't really make mistakes. It can miss things, but it doesn't have that human error. So anytime it's when you get humans involved, there's that technical debt. And I think a big thing we're seeing now with tools coming out, with the cloud, seeing things like big data, machine learning, a lot of those security and anti-malware tools going from the system to the cloud and leveraging those capabilities. I mean, that automation is huge. I see that, and being able to take that, those tools, that processing power, off the network and put it somewhere else, like in the cloud, where you could just use a lot more compute, a lot more storage, and then using new technologies like machine learning and AI. I think I've seen that's really big. Yeah, well, I think it just matters what technology it uses. I think the old, signature-based, malware detectors, I think it's been a little bit harder, especially, with malware, it's just changing so much. Those signatures are harder. I think the newer tools that we're seeing coming out, especially with the cloud, where you can look at baselines, and you can look at behavior based, like heuristics, in combination with some signatures. I think that those scanners are very helpful. I think the modern ones, but I do think some of the older scanners, things even people are using 10 years ago, I think are starting to become obsolete. I would say that the one I'm using right now is Windows Defender for Endpoint, which that's the like Microsoft's EDR solution, endpoint detection and response solution. I like that. I think it's a great solution. But I've heard really any cloud-based EDR, XDR, SOAR kind of platform. I never heard McAfee's good as well. But yeah, I would say the one I have the most experience with is that endpoint, Windows Endpoint for Defender for Endpoint. And yeah, I like that scanner. That's a good one. Yeah, well, I would say the probably the best malware removal solution I would just say is a reimage. And that's easier said than done. But I think a big part of that is preparation. Having the right change management, having the right configuration management, having the right storage management, so you're not in backups, you're not losing data. So yeah, I would say the best thing I found isn't necessarily trying to clean the machine out, but yeah, just keeping all the data separate from the machine, and then just wiping it out, re-imaging it, and basically having that fresh that fresh clean image. That's the best way I've found. Yeah, I would say, if you're going to do the re-image process, obviously that doesn't work for everybody. And sometimes, maybe some of the data might get corrupted. And I would what I usually try to do is break it up, take it a piece at a time. Do scans, look for files, or even running baselines. Something that's been helpful for me is, having a golden image, running, just discovery commands, seeing what services are running, what processes, seeing what past programs are, coming from, and then, comparing that baseline to, the potentially the infected machine, to get rid of that. And then just same thing, running baselines, trying to compare even the file systems. But that's probably another one who's for any like a trouble, or if you can't just reimage it, is look at baselines, compare it to a known good image. Yep. So I have done some malware analysis, not real in depth, like at a real low level. But yeah, what I've done is the biggest thing is looking for artifacts, looking for I guess things that I could use to enhance tooling with, pieces within that malware, whether it be like IP addresses, host names, file names, things like that. So I've been able to run it and just really use it as a way to find those malware artifacts to either clean up a system, or potentially if there's another infection that got missed, use it to detect further infections. And I would say just a real easy way of just malware analysis is using a machine that's off domain, that's connected to like a Wi-Fi hotspot or other connection that's off the domain, and then just run the virtualized software, running the actual malware sample itself, inside of I guess really a protected like virtual machine, so it's not going to escape. But even if it does, if it's an off domain machine, so it won't change too much. And then from there, running, there's like specialized tools to run, but I found just running just even if it's Windows, PowerShell commands, or getting CSVs of services, processes, part of the file systems, seeing how the malware reacts, and just taking snapshots of that. So that's been effective for me. Yeah, I would say well, the one of the most important things with malware, I mean, it's going to happen. So understand things like the Cybersecurity Framework, where detect and respond, the different parts of the CSF. I'd say like that's important, or we're using something like CIS controls, just getting networks and systems to where they need to be, so that way you can protect them, but you can also detect and respond to things that are going on. And I think that's easier said than done. But I think having like those two tools, having a good clean baseline, understanding what's important, what's not important, and I guess prioritize, I guess, is more the thing, and understand those good baselines. And once you have that kind of all the groundwork and the foundational work done, a lot of that you can just necessarily rely on tools, but understand your tools, understand what's normal, what's not normal on the network, and things that are abnormal will be a lot more glaring. Yeah, I would say there has been times where I've been part of companies where there's been outages for days or sometimes a week plus. But I would say the one of an event that I was able to see was someone was in an organization. I've seen them get phished, and then some real nasty malware get downloaded from that, and then it just starts really, you can just see it starts spreading, and starts having issues in the something that takes maybe 15-20 minutes, and then it gets stopped, can create days worth of work. So definitely if the right controls aren't in place, malware can I've seen it be very, very destructive.